Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase, and I'm here with a very important message. We are at a turning point in the Black community where we must have equity in the apps we use that scale to billions of dollars. But this time, we own the infrastructure, we own the culture, and we shape the future. And Fanbase is the future. Fanbase combines the free functionality of Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube into an all-in-one platform built for the evolution of social media and monetization. With over 1.4 million users, that's real proof that we are shifting the conversation of tech ownership and equity for creators. So right now, I want you to go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. The minimum to invest is $399. That gets you 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. This marks a turning point in Black ownership of social media. If we don't take this opportunity to own social media right now, we will always be customers to our own creations. And that can't go on. So once again, go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. We must own the platforms where our voices live, our stories matter, and where our culture drives the world. Thank you.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay Black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig? Today is Thursday, September 18th, 2025. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. House Republicans doing all they can to punk Democrats. They're pushing a resolution honoring the life and legacy of Charlie Kirk, plus condemning political violence. So why are Democrat leaders talking about voting for it? We'll talk to Lauren Victoria Burke of Black Virginia News about what is going on in the House. Also, the right are trying all they can to blame the left since Kirk's death, and we also expose some of the hypocrisy behind these claims. Jimmy Kimmel gets show taken off the air by ABC. Sinclair, the MAGA local television group, wants him to personally apologize to Kirk's family and make a donation to Turning Point USA before they say they will put him back on their stations. We call that extortion. Plus, we'll talk to the pastor of Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem about the role of the black church in this second era of Donald Trump. Voters in Mobile, Alabama will soon choose their next mayor. We'll talk to the sister who won the primary, but she is way behind in the fundraising for the runoff. Plus, the family of 20-year-old Demartravion Trey Reed, reportedly found hanging from a tree on the campus of Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. They're demanding to know the truth of what happened to him. The family attorney will join us right here. It is a lot for us to break down. So it's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the fine. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
The Republican-led House has voted to advance a resolution honoring the life of Charlie Kirk and condemning political violence. Lawmakers voted in favor of advancing the measure and a bill to avert a government shutdown in a joint mechanism known as a rule vote. Rule votes are procedural hurdles that commonly tie together unrelated pieces of legislation that, if adopted, allow House lawmakers to debate each measure individually. Resolution 719, titled Honoring the Life and Legacy of Charlie Kirk, was sponsored by Republican Speaker Mike Johnson. Now, here's the whole deal with this here. So I'm going to walk y'all through this. Go to my iPad, Anthony. This is the resolution right here, okay? And so you see right here all of the Republicans who support this bill. Now, I'm going to actually read the full resolution because I need y'all to understand the game that Republicans are playing here and what they're trying to force Democrats to do. And yes, there are a number of Democrats who are ready to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. All right, so it says, whereas Charlie James Kirk, born October 14th, 1993, was a courageous American patriot whose life was tragically and unjustly cut short in an act of political violence on September 10th, 2025, at Utah Valley University. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a devoted Christian who boldly lived out his faith with conviction, courage, and compassion. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a dedicated husband to his beloved wife, Erica Kirk, and a loving father to their daughter and son, exemplifying the virtues of faith, fidelity, and fatherhood. Whereas Charlie Kirk was a fierce defender of the American founding and its timeless principles of life, liberty, limited government, and individual responsibility. Whereas Charlie Kirk, at 18 years old, founded Turning Point USA in 2012, a student movement with the mission to identify, educate, train, and organize students to promote the principles of fiscal responsibility, free markets, and limited government. Whereas Charlie Kirk became one of the most prominent voices in America, engaging, they literally wrote this, engaging in respectful civil discourse across college campuses, media platforms, and national forums, always seeking to elevate truth, foster understanding, and strengthen the republic. Whereas Charlie Kirk personified the values of the First Amendment, exercising his God-given right to speak freely, challenged prevailing narratives, and did so with honor, courage, and respect for his fellow Americans. They actually said that. Whereas Charlie Kirk's commitment to civil discussion and debate stood as a model for young Americans across the political spectrum, and he worked tirelessly to promote unity without compromising on conviction. Whereas the assassination of Charlie Kirk was not only a heinous act of violence, but a sobering reminder of the growing threat posed by political extremism and hatred in our society. Whereas such acts of politically motivated violence are antithetical to the principles of a free republic, in which differences of opinion are to be debated, not silenced, with civility, reason, and mutual respect. Whereas the rise in targeted violence against individuals for their political beliefs undermines the very fabric of our constitutional democracy and chills the free exchange of ideas essential to a healthy civic society. Whereas leaders at every level, government, education, media, and beyond, must stand united in unequivocal condemnation of political violence, regardless of their ideology. Whereas the tragic loss of Charlie Kirk must not be allowed to deepen the divides in our nation, but instead serve as a turning point to recommit ourselves to better angels and to the timeless American principles of liberty, governed by truth and the virtues of peaceful dialogue with, and whereas Charlie Kirk would not have us respond to his death with despair, but rather with renewed purpose to speak truth with courage, to stand firm in faith, to seek unity while standing firm in principle, and to serve as living reminders of the values he championed, faith, family, and freedom. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the House of Representatives condemns in the strongest possible terms the assassination of Charlie James Kirk and all forms of political violence, commends and honors the dedicated law enforcement and emergency personnel for their tireless efforts in finding the suspect responsible for the assassination of Charlie Kirk, and urges the administration of swift justice to the suspect. Extends its deepest condolences and sympathies to Charlie Kirk's family, including his wife, Erica, and their 2 young children, and prays for comfort, peace, and healing in this time of unspeakable loss. Honors the life, leadership, and legacy of Charlie Kirk, whose steadfast dedication to the Constitution, civil discourse, and biblical truth inspired a generation to cherish and defend the blessings of liberty, and calls upon all Americans, regardless of race, party affiliation, or creed, to reject political violence, recommit to respectful debate, uphold American values, and respect one another as fellow Americans. That's the resolution that Republicans want Democrats to vote on. It was supposed to take place today at 3:30, but things happened, and now the vote will be shifted to tomorrow. Now, Lauren Victoria Burke of Black Virginia News has been on Capitol Hill. She's been covering what's going on. And folks, it's a whole back and forth. Democrats are trying to figure out what to do. Democrat leadership pretty much gave the impression that they're going to vote for this because they want to protect what they call the frontliners, because they may use this against them. Lauren joins us right now. So, Lauren, walk us through this, because, see, this is what people don't understand. Republicans love to do this, where they want to box Democrats into a corner and be able to say, see, y'all didn't vote, y'all voted against this. Now, keep in mind, the same Republicans, when then Congressman Jamal Bowman had a resolution to condemn white supremacy after 10 black people were gunned down at a grocery store in Buffalo, all Republicans except one voted against that resolution. And last I checked, Lauren, I don't recall there being a resolution when the former Speaker of the House in Minnesota was gunned down along with her husband and 2 others shot as well. Where was that resolution?
That's a good question. One of the things to remember, as you just said, is this is an attempt from a messaging standpoint by the Republicans, of course, to box the Democrats in and be able to say when it's all over, see, you really are for violence because you couldn't even vote for this simple resolution that we put forward. Now, as you just read and as everyone just heard, there's a lot there. So usually these resolutions are fairly straightforward. This sort of goes on and on. Certainly with the understanding that Charlie Kirk died in a particularly violent way, in a particularly public way. So a lot of these Republicans, particularly the ones who knew him, of course, are in their feelings. Of course, they feel badly and they want to do something. But it's also about the politics of trapping the Democrats on the messaging, which, by the way, is extremely easy to do because the Democrats really have no broad strategic messaging plan. They told the members this week, talk about healthcare, talk about healthcare, talk about healthcare. So everybody talked about healthcare because, of course, the continuing resolution is coming up, and part of that are the tax credits for healthcare. Understood, but they left the field completely barren on this issue, where you have the Republican Party effectively running a government that is now trying to get into the business of telling people how to think, and now trying to, of course, encroach onto the First Amendment. That is something worth talking about. Finally, the Senate Democrats today did have a press conference after the firing of Jimmy Kimmel. But to get back to this, this is a situation where the Republicans, once again, are perfectly trying to trap the Democrats into a position. I am, of course, paying specific attention to members of the Congressional Black Caucus. I'm getting a lot of no's and hell no's from those members. There are certain members that are being told to vote present or, quote, take a walk, which on Capitol Hill means you just don't vote. You stay in the cloakroom or you disappear for the vote, and whoops, you just happen to miss it. That's hard to do when you have a multiple vote set and you missed the other, you made the other 2 votes and somehow magically miss the key vote that everybody's looking at, which, of course, is the Kirk resolution.
So you talked earlier with House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. What did he tell you?
He said that, read the statement, the vote, I'm telling the members to vote their conscience and read my statement later. We, of course, never got to later when he said that. That was earlier, of course, right after their I thought was a sort of a lengthy caucus meeting this morning. It started at 9 o'clock, and I think he got out at maybe toward 11, near 11 when I talked to him. So when they say that they're having the members vote their conscience, they're trying to make it seem as if the members can do whatever they want. But as the day went on, I think we find out that that wasn't quite the case. Because there were a lot of stories going back and forth that I found out about of the leadership pressuring these members to vote present or take a walk and not have it just be the group of leaders, the 3 leaders at the top, Aguilar, Clark, and Jeffries, voting yes for the resolution in favor to honor Charlie Kirk, and having a bunch of members vote no. And as you might imagine, there's some members who are senior members who are, quite frankly, distinguished, and nobody wants to be on the other side of a vote of. There's several members like that, and several of them are voting no. You can guess the ones that are voting no. It's like Benny Thompson, Danny Davis, Bobby Scott. There are members who are saying, why are we honoring this person who've said all these terrible things? This is the thing that is problematic with this is not somebody who's never said anything controversial. And even though he died tragically and violently, that's a problem, particularly for African-American members of Congress, because he, of course, targeted in particular Black women and Black women at the top of their game in our community. Michelle Obama. I mean, the idea that you're targeting Ketanji Brown Jackson and trying to argue this woman graduated summa cum laude from Harvard Law, and you're trying to argue she got everything she got off of affirmative action is completely ridiculous. That is something that these members, and particularly the female members, but certainly the male members, some of the male members as well, they are not going to go for that. So it at best splits the CBC. You'll also notice that there is no official policy. There's no official statement from the CBC. That's another sort of what I would call a bad sign, a sign of a split. One piece of news too, Roland, is that Mark Veazey, the congressman of Texas, is offering a resolution, what we would say is a clean resolution, which just gets right to the point. We stand against political violence. Political violence is wrong. You know, what happened to him is terrible. That type of very straightforward language that doesn't go on and on into these, you know, details that get to things that, frankly, are hard to square given some of Kirk's statements.
So it also looks like you had a lot of Democrat pushback to what was going to go down, because earlier when you and I talked, it was sort of like, all right, we're going to move forward with this vote. And it seems, you know, after we did our live, after it hit social and other places, all of a sudden Democratic leaders realized, oh, we got a problem.
Well, yeah, Roland, it seemed to go from, okay, vote your conscience, do what you want to do. Maybe they were assuming the members were going to vote yes. You know, when you read some of this language about, look, political violence is wrong, you know, this is terrible, that's hard to vote against, right? I mean, that's part of this. That's hard to vote against statements like, wow, let's make the statement that political violence is wrong. Well, I think every member, Republican and Democrat, would agree with that and make that statement. But the problem is, if you listen to the quotes of Charlie Kirk, and particularly with regard to quotes with regard to Black women, but not only those quotes, that's problematic. And it's also problematic when you have constituents who don't know all the details of all of this stuff. They've seen the clip reels of Charlie Kirk. There was another one that came out last night that Tara Setmeyer put out there that was just running the things that he has said over the years. That is hard to explain to your constituents who are seeing this person on social media say negative things, very biased things, very racist things about members of the Black community. And then you voted to honor him. I mean, you know, everyone understands that your member of Congress is against violence. Nobody was for what they saw happen on that video last week. Absolutely nobody. But the Republicans are trying to make this a one-sided argument that the Democrats are all Antifa, that the Democrats are pro-violence, and that is why they're trying to sort of corner them into this vote.
All right, so you made a point about what Tara Setmeyer posted last night. It's about a 6-minute video. I actually want to play that so people can actually hear for themselves. So this is what she posted on Twitter last night.
One more thing that's on my mind tonight, and conservatives everywhere, the idea that people are saying, well, he was an extremist, or he was a racist, or he was a Nazi, or a misogynist, whatever. Charlie Kirk was a mainstream conservative Republican. He had views that are held by tens of millions of people, including more than half the country in the last election.
If I see a Black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. It begs the question, when you see a Black pilot, you wonder, you say, I hope they are qualified. And in the spirit of affirmative action, we have Ramon and Cadillac are your two pilots. They've never flown before, but they are Black. If I'm dealing with somebody in customer service who's a moronic Black woman, is she there because of her excellence, or is she there because of affirmative action? I'm only here because of affirmative action. Yeah, we know you do not have the brain processing power to otherwise be taken really seriously. The war on white people continues. You had to go steal a white person's slot to go be taken somewhat seriously. We are raising a generation of weak people like Simone Biles. LeBron James is a self-interested, narcissistic, and we know he's not very smart. You're representing your nation. You're selfish sociopath, not very bright, not wise, not somebody of good character. She is a shame to the country. Blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today. Data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. Let's get loud for Kyle Rittenhouse. I'm also going to offer some context and some nuance about the death of George Floyd that no one dares to say out loud, which is that this guy was a scumbag. Remember what BLM stands for? Burn, loot, and murder. Now, does that mean it deserves to die? That's two totally different things. Of course not. Prowling Blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. There's no such thing as white privilege or racism. So Black people are allowed to talk about Black culture in a way that white culture cannot. Black people can go up and say that there's a baby mama problem in Black America, and white people are not allowed to say that. Oh, I just did. So what are you going to do, cancel me? Black people are allowed to say, I'm a grown man, I got way too much Black people are allowed. Skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh, wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Thomas Sowell and Justice Clarence Thomas are far better black role models to celebrate than Martin Luther King. This guy is not worthy of a national holiday.
There's a mythology around MLK that does not warrant the reverence that he gets treated with in America.
We have a federal holiday to a guy that talked about race all the time.
Kirk describes King as, quote, a bad guy. It's true.
We celebrate the Civil Rights Act more than the American founding.
The country made a mistake when it passed the Civil Rights Act. Also true. The Democrats are not lifting a finger to remember the well over 100 people that have died in Texas Hill Country. The death toll likely would not have been as high if it wasn't for DEI.
Ketanji Brown Jackson is what your country looks like on critical race theory.
You're going to remove my appendix and you're a black lesbian.
Ketanji Brown Jackson is an embodiment of the tyranny that we currently live under. She's an ideological, unintelligent, yet confident fanatic.
Why does Kirk believe passing the Civil Rights Act was a mistake? Now, again, apparently they don't listen to the show because we do that at least once a week, right?
So she wants to be the first ever black woman on the Supreme Court, yet she won't even admit that she's a woman.
The transgender movement is an introductory phase. These doctors need to be put in prison to get you to strip yourself of your humanity. A Nuremberg-style trial to mesh with machines. Interestingly, I think there is an argument to bring back the MRS degree.
Reject feminism.
Young women need to get married at a younger age and start having kids. I'm studying sociology. No, you're not. We know why you're here.
Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
You will find a husband if you have the intent to find a husband.
You got to change your name. If not, you don't really mean it.
Democrat women want to die alone without children.
A lot of them are on birth control too, and birth control really screws up female brains, by the way.
It's really rich. I didn't know women not to complain 50 years ago. That's funny. We should tell them to stop freezing their eggs and start finding their partner earlier and have lots of babies.
Every single one of you need to make sure that your loved ones are not on birth control.
So materially insane to think that 1 in 5 American women will be raped in their life.
It is. I agree.
No, meaning that they're lying about being raped.
You're comparing abortion to the Holocaust.
Absolutely, I am. In fact, it's worse. It's worse. Because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies. By the way, this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals. It should be public. It should be quick. It should be televised. Well, at what age should you start to see public execution?
16. I think you could do it earlier. I think you maybe at age 12.
I want to watch that execution. That'll make my day better. A lot. I mean, Joe Biden is a bumbling, dementia-filled, Alzheimer's, corrupt tyrant who should honestly be put in prison and or given the death penalty for his crimes against America.
The Democrat Party believes everything that God hates.
We're dealing with maggots, vermin, and swine here. These are not good people. They're not even a little bit good. In fact, I know people that went to Haiti passively as agnostic atheists, and they came back searching for Jesus because they saw legit demonic activity. Kamala Harris wants to see the elimination of the United States of America.
Democrat Party supports everything that God hates.
There's not much you can do, folks. You have a government that hates you. You have a traitor as the president. Buy weapons. I keep on saying that.
As top Republicans reject any link between GOP rhetoric and Paul Pelosi assault. If some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. Native-born Americans, you better buy weapons, everybody. Have a lot of guns at your disposal. I would never leave your home without a weapon. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
We actually need looser gun laws because I think that
Oh, yeah. They said we have more guns at the Turning Point HQ than you could imagine. Yeah, if anyone ever tries to come, that will not end well. Oh, no. Imagine the world without Joy Reid. Imagine the world without Sheila Jackson Lee or Michelle Obama or Ketanji Brown Jackson.
I am channeling the emotions of millions of conservatives who are angry. They knew Charlie. They loved Charlie. They viewed Charlie as a mainstream conservative Republican.
Wow. That said it all, Lauren.
Yes, it did. One of the reasons why we haven't seen that, of course, is because legacy media is now being taken over by the right. I mean, let's face it, ABC and CBS in particular. That reel, though, is something that some folks on Capitol Hill have suggested that what the Democrats should have done was read into the record some of the quotes of Charlie Kirk. I mean, have some sort of answer for this idea that he is just so perfect and we've got to do all this honoring. If you just read his words back to everybody, that would probably change the messaging on that. But instead, what has happened is the Democrats are really just, as I said, laying down and allowing the Republicans to run a narrative without any sort of pushback against it. I mean, there is really not much pushback. And it is an incredible thing to see. There is the theory, too, on Capitol Hill that the leadership has to sort of take the hit for some of the members that are in closer districts, as you were saying earlier, some of these battleground districts, where they've got to vote yes because it's a close district. So the leadership has to sort of, I've heard a few members say to me today, the leadership has to sort of take the hit for those members. But the problem becomes that rank and file person in a district that doesn't pay that much attention to politics as we do on this level, that is just looking at this and sees a clip reel like that, has already seen a bunch of social media with Charlie Kirk's clips, and then you're saying to your member of Congress, logically, why would you vote to honor a person who has said these types of things? That is problematic.
And they did pass a resolution in June regarding the shooting in Minnesota. Go to my iPad, and if you look at this, they describe what took place. They describe the individual, and then they say in here, whereas when these violent acts expose division, must persevere and pursue democratic principles, resolving the differences through debate and civil discourse. No, first of all, it's a very short resolution. It does not even remotely compare to how laudatory it was about Charlie Kirk being a Christian and family person, and how he didn't say, and he welcomed debate with all Americans and all sorts of stuff like this, as if that clip, that video we put there never even existed. So,
right.
so now it's going to be a question of, are you going to have Democrats who are going to say, no, I'm sorry, you want me to vote on a resolution that leaves out a whole bunch of stuff, and somebody who you want Democrats to vote on something where Charlie Kirk attacked very members of that chamber, like
Exactly
Congresswoman
right.
Jasmine Crockett, Congresswoman Maxine Waters, and others.
Exactly right. And I can tell you that last votes about an hour ago, I was getting a lot of no's and I was getting a lot of hell no's. And the hell no's typically came from the lady members of the Congressional Black Caucus. It will be very surprising to me if any of the lady members of the Congressional Black Caucus vote yes on that resolution. Now, the VZ resolution, effectively condemning political violence in a very straightforward way, may give them an out. So we're probably going to see more news tomorrow about the Mark VZ resolution, which is, of course, going to say that it's against political violence, be a more straightforward set of wording with regard to the what happened, the murder of Charlie Kirk, and it just stated a lot plainer than what you saw from the Republicans.
Absolutely. All right, Lauren Victoria Burke. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gonna go to a break. I know my panel cannot wait to talk about this. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Oh, and by the way, yes, this is one of our newest shirts. You see right here, it says Resist 47. You can get it at shopblackstarnetwork.com. And so you got all the information on here. And so if y'all want to get this shirt, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com. Shopblackstarnetwork.com. You can get our products plus all these black-owned companies that are to my right as well. All right, folks, I'll be back in a moment.
Black Star Network, what's happening? It's your man, Kim. And look, my new single, Rock With Me, is on fire. We debuted as the #1 most added and greatest gainer at R&B radio. So look, I want you to go check it out at musicbykim.com. Listen to it, download it, tell me what you think about it. Also, make sure you sign up to be a part of my community so we can stay connected. At Music by Kim on all social media platforms. Thank you for rocking with me. And keep love on the one.
'Cause I want you to rock with me. We live in a strange world till the darkness falls forever. Baby, let's be the dawn. When it feels like it's taking me over, you're making me stronger, my sweet love.
What's good, y'all? This is Doug E. Fresh, and you're watching my brother Roland Martin Unfiltered as we go a little something like this. Hit it. It's real.
Folks, my panel, Joy Chaney, founder of Joy Strategies out of D.C., Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies, Howard University out of D.C., Reese Colbert, the host of the Reese Colbert Show on Sirius XM Radio, creator of The Card Game, Am I Trippin'? Also out of D.C. Glad to have all three of you all here. Joy, I'll start with you. What do you make of Democrats hemming and hawing on whether to vote on this Charlie Kirk resolution?
Get my fingers to work. I'm going to take that clip that you just showed from the Seneca Project. I'm going to send it to everyone and let them know, do not vote for this resolution. Vote for the VC resolution. Do not vote for this resolution. That includes leadership. There is no excuse. This, I think we have forgotten. I think a lot of people don't know what he's saying. I really do. I think a lot of people who are kind of flirting with this is okay, or, he was for freedom of speech. Yes, he was. And he had absolutely every right to say the things and to live. We've already said that. I'm not going to say it again because I don't support political violence, and no one on the Democratic side has ever said we do. That is not the case for him. And the fact of the matter is, we do not have to sign a resolution, a vote for a resolution that supports and holds victorious the things that he said about us. That would mean we are fools. Don't be a fool. You can vote against political violence, as you should. You can have a companion resolution. You can go on there and you can vote, and you can read Charlie Kirk's word for yourself. On the floor, let that be your floor speech.
Yep.
Letting him know why I can't support this resolution that would lionize him. There's nothing to lionize.
Reese.
I mean, we're going to see who has the balls to stand up for truth and who doesn't. Look, I know that people trying to dodge bullets and stuff and people are scared, but y'all getting more security. Mike Johnson said y'all get 10K more. So at some point, you got to stand up and be a person of conscience who stands for the truth. And so I think we're going to see really who is about that life and who was just trying to go along to get along. But I know that Republicans had no problem whatsoever not voting against domestic white extremism, a resolution that was introduced in the wake of the Buffalo mass shooting.
Yeah, you're right here.
No problem.
Right here.
They've had no problem voting against the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They've had no problem voting against things that would move our country forward, that were about honoring the legacy of people who were actually about making this world a better place. And so I think that Democrats need to keep that same energy. If people are upset, let them be upset. And, they'll find something else to be mad about. I think they have more reasons to be mad about healthcare being cut, about food stamps being cut, about jobs being lost, about food prices, grocery prices being high as hell. I think there is plenty to be upset about versus a vote against this resolution.
Greg.
Roland, and I agree with Joy. I think that everyone should see that reel, that clip. The key moment in that reel and clip for me wasn't anything Charles James Kirk said. When he was in one of his rants and there were two young men of African descent standing there, what one of the young men said, I think, is something that I think should really be the guiding force for how we move forward. All of us, whether it be elected officials, just rank and file Black folk generally, and any human being in this country who's anti-white supremacy, which I like to think is the majority, regardless of what they say about the majority of voters. It was not the majority of voters, my stupid friend. It was the majority of people who voted. And that brother said, quote, "I'm a grown man. I have better things to worry about." I think that should be we have to stay focused in this. How people vote, and I agree, I think a VZ resolution would give a clear contrast. A no and a yes would settle the matter, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of it. But this is political theater.
Yep.
The white nationalists are terrified. Eric Schmidt, the white nationalist senator from Missouri, who gave a remarkable white nationalist speech right here in Washington, D.C. a couple of weeks ago, said in that speech that if this country is for everybody, then it's for nobody. If it's everybody, it's nobody. He was a friend of Charles James Kirk. I don't have a dog in the fight of Charles Kirk. Anybody want to talk about what he said and didn't say? Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote an interesting article in the Vanity Fair a couple of days ago, and he said this: if you would look away from the words of Charlie Kirk, what else would you look away from? That is a beautiful question to ask to people who can be convinced once they've seen the evidence. But we're not talking about those people. We're talking about white nationalists. We're talking about J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller and wholly convicted religious zealots like Russell Vogt and Brendan Carr. Rather than debate the merits or relative merits of a resolution for Charlie Kirk, I would just simply end with this. I go to Arlington Cemetery from time to time. There's a huge Confederate monument there, right across the driveway from a tribute to the Buffalo Soldiers. And there are scores of Africans who are buried there under tombstones with one simple word on it: citizen. They were buried there, their names forever lost to time because they were killed or died during the Civil War. There are hundreds of thousands of people on both sides, not very fine people, but very people who fought in the Civil War, who died, who are buried in Arlington National Cemetery, who would have taken my life, your life, Joy's life, Reese's life, and without a second thought, and would have celebrated it. They were far more dangerous to me than the words of Charles James Kirk, living or dead. I don't have a dog in it. I'm a grown man. I got better things to worry about. And I think that would drive the white nationalists craziest of all, if we stayed focused and break their political backs in the upcoming elections and every other election that comes after that, so that they can't even introduce a resolution.
Yep.
That's what they want us to do, is start arguing about this.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, this is, people need to understand, this is what happens when you have power. Now, this week, we've shared with you a number of videos from black pastors speaking from the pulpit, not just about the shooting of Charlie Kirk, but also the white nationalism, the white Christian nationalism that we are seeing take place all across the country. It's happening everywhere. Reverend Kevin Johnson, the senior pastor of Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, spoke about what's going on. This is what he had to say.
Even our founders of the United States of America knew that this nation, even from its Genesis ex nihilo moment, was not perfect. They understood that it was a work in progress. They recognized that America needed to keep growing, needed to keep changing, needed to keep becoming more diversified, needed to keep becoming better than it was. But this week, beloved, we all have to ask the question, are we becoming more perfect, or are we becoming more divided? This past Wednesday, September 10th, the day before 9/11, our nation witnessed something that should have brought us together. Tragically, a 31-year-old ultra-conservative MAGA leader was murdered in broad daylight. And on the same day, even though it didn't get as much attention, there was a mass shooting that took place in a school in Colorado. Lives were lost. Families were broken. And a nation had been further shattered. And what disturbed me more than anything was that instead of our political leaders mourning together, serving, if you will, as the pastor-in-chief of the nation, seeking unity in our shared humanity, what did we see? We saw a president who decided to blame versus heal. We saw leaders who had picked division over unity. We saw a man who had selected accusation over investigation. And before the facts even became clear, before the investigation was complete, we had the leader of our country pointing fingers at people on the other aisle, when the reality, it was somebody who came from his own house. And I don't know about you, but this past week I was praying and hoping that in this moment that we would have some grown-ups in the room. We needed to bring America together, and that's the reason why we posted that video of Pastor Butts on 9/11, is because it's at moments like that we need leaders to bring our country together. Yes, beloved, when I think about the great leaders of this country, they did not seek to divide us. They don't seek to blame. They don't seek to accuse. They don't seek to divide. No, they seek to bring us all together. And beloved, that's why I'm raising the question this morning: where is our nation headed when the leader says he could care less? Where is our nation headed when people care more about political points than they do about human pain? Where is our nation headed when they focus more on tearing down than building up? Where is our nation headed when there is more focus on them versus us collectively? And as much as I've been wrestling with these questions this past week, I came by to let you know this morning that there's still some good news. Because God has not given up on America. Because God has not given up on us. And beloved, that's why we've got to understand that yes, we may be divided. Yes, we may be hurting. Yes, we may be broken. Yes, we may be going through some situations. But I want to remind us today that our God is not done with our nation.
Reverend Johnson joins us right now. Glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. I understand the sentiment that you laid out there, but let's be clear. Everything that we are seeing, everything that you preach about is laid out in Project 2025. Yeah. What Brendan Carr is doing with the FCC in bringing media to heel, he wrote that section in Project 2025. We know Donald Trump ain't no Christian. We know he don't love Jesus. Right. We know he's a fraud. But these folks, the Heritage Foundation, Turning Point USA, all of these folks, they absolutely are advocating white Christian nationalism, and there has to be a clarion call coming from the pulpit to prepare black folks and others for what is going on. And I think a lot of folk are just sitting there playing around, not realizing that these folks mean business with their white conservative Christian nationalism.
I'm in total agreement with you. I'm pretty sure you've posted some of my sermons before, so everyone knows that I'm on the record, not only just critiquing and speaking prophetically against this administration, but you're exactly right. They're following Project 2025 to the nth degree. And when you look at Donald Trump, and when you look at all of the moves that he has made over these past nearly 9 months, the reality is that all of America, not just Black America, that we all have been asleep at the wheel. And, you know, I remember before the election took place, when I came and preached my trial sermon at Abyssinian, I raised a lot of these questions, and it seemed to fall on deaf ears. Now, what really needs to happen now is not only do we need to continue to raise the voice and get our people actually involved, but we're going to have to take this to the streets. I look at this whole moment right now. Many people are afraid because they see the federal troops. But one of the things I often point out to people, there are more of us than there are police. There are more of us than there are bullets and guns. And so we must make sure that there are mass demonstrations, because this president is going to continue to try to inflict pain, suffering, and also trying to put fear into people. But I'm not afraid of him. As I said in one of my sermons, we ain't scared, ain't never been scared, and he is not going to terrify us.
I was driving to the show, and I called. I had not talked to or seen Reverend Jim Wallace in a very long time. And the paperback version of his book drops on Tuesday. And if you go to my iPad, it's called The False White Gospel, Rejecting Christian Nationalism, Reclaiming True Faith, and Refounding Democracy. And he lays out, and I agree with him, that this is a moment. And we're seeing this. We are seeing, I dare say, we are seeing Catholic priests under the leadership of Pope Leo going to ICE detention hearings, daring them to arrest folk with the priest standing there. This is a moment where the church, Catholic Church, Baptist Church, Kojic, Church of God, whatever you want to call it, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Jewish, has to understand that moral leadership is required right now, and it can't just be speaking from the pulpit. It also has to get people to understand that their ballot and their Bible actually go together, because that's what the white Christian nationalists are doing.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is we have become at ease in Zion. And one of the things that I am very focused on at Abyssinian is helping, not only using the pulpit that we have, but also mobilizing with others across this nation. The reality is this, is that these people, they are using Christianity when they don't even know who Christ is. They're using the faith in racist, a very stereotypical kind of way in which they are trying to inflict further pain. I did a Bible study some years ago, really making the connection between white nationalism and white racist Christianity. And when you look at the essence of how the Southern Baptists were started, they were deeply connected to the Confederates. And so this is nothing new. When we look at what took place with Charlie Kirk, and I've heard your guests, they articulate very well, Charlie Kirk is not new. We knew of George Lincoln Rockwell. We know of David Duke. I mean, these figures, they pop up all the time. What is different is that now we're in the age of social media, and now people have a chance to go back and replay these tapes. And that's why we must continue to expose people to the words and to the pain and the suffering that Charlie Kirk had inflicted, and not allow for Donald Trump or for anyone else who's an elected leader to try to sanitize and to try to make him seem as if he was something that he was not. And that's why I agree with Pastor Howard John Wesley. He said what needed to be said. And we all must continue to advocate for our people and to continue to protest. And I agree with you. We need to have not just, if they're going to arrest, let's go ahead and do it in mass, because trust me, there are not enough police officers to arrest all the American citizens.
In that conversation I had with Pastor Wallace, he told me about a book that I wasn't aware of, but I'm like, yo, we got to order it. Bonhoeffer's Black Jesus, Harlem Renaissance Theology and an Ethic of Resistance. I'm quite sure Greg Carr has it somewhere behind him. And I know he does. I know he does. Now, but the reason this is important here is because Bonhoeffer studied at Abyssinian.
Yes, sir.
And took Black liberation theology back to Germany. Yep. And when he made the choice to be one of the folks who made the most difficult moral decision to kill Hitler, and he took that back, and because he understood the evil of Hitler. And I have to remind folk that while Bonhoeffer came here to the United States, Harlem, Abyssinian, to learn Black liberation theology, Hitler sent his goons to the United States to study Jim Crow, and they brought back the best practices of Jim Crow to Germany. Yeah. And so what Wallace was saying in our conversation, and what this book here, as we just talked about, lays out, is that it is the Black church, not white Christians, right, save for John Brown and a few others, but it has been the Black church that has led the resistance to this country from day one. And then this is a moment where today's preachers are going to have to find the intestinal fortitude of the previous preachers to lead folk through this abyss.
I agree. I mean, Bonhoeffer, he was there at Abyssinian Baptist Church as he was a professor and learning at Union Theological Seminary, and he learned from Dr. Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. And Abyssinian has always been a cradle for giving birth to civil rights movements. And that's why this is such a critical moment. I agree with you that the Black church has always been the moral conscience of this nation. Slavery in this country, many people are trying to whitewash it. They're trying to take down pictures and scenes from the Smithsonian. But the reality is this: you cannot wash away our history. You cannot wash away our pain. And that's why I am saying I want to make this appeal to any Black preachers or any people who go to church, period. Tell your pastor, I don't want to hear about prosperity gospel. I want to hear about how are we going to fight this regime and how are we going to bring about change in this country? Because if the Black church does not do it, trust me, the soul of America is already on the brink, but the soul of America be totally washed away, because we are the ones who have always stood at the forefront to make sure that we speak truth to power and that we hold this country accountable to bring about the changes that are needed to make sure that we are continuing to hold up what I said on Sunday, this more perfect union, because America is beyond flawed. But I firmly believe that the Black church and Black leaders, women and men, if we come together, that we can change the course of the direction that this country is headed on right now. Before I go to my panel with their questions, I talk about this all the time. Where do we go from here? Chaos or Community, Dr. King's book. And I always quote this, where he said there are already structured forces in the Negro community that can serve as the basis for building a powerful united front. The Negro Church, the Negro Press, the Negro fraternities and sororities, and Negro professional associations. We must admit that these forces have never given their full resources to the cause of Negro liberation. There are still too many Negro churches that are so absorbed in a future good over yonder that they condition their members to adjust to the present evils over here. And as I keep calling out media, too many Negro newspapers have veered away from their traditional role as protest organs agitating for social change, and have turned to the sensational and the conservative in place of the substantive and the militant. And then, of course, he challenged professional groups and fraternities and sororities by saying too many Negro social and professional groups have degenerated into snobbishness and a preoccupation with frivolities and trivial activity. And so, as someone who's a life member of Alpha, Prince Hall Mason, in the Boule, I've challenged those folk direct by saying, I'm not interested in us wearing our colors, talking about all the great things to do when we get together. If the community ain't never seen us actually doing it, then none of that stuff matters. Let's go to my panel. Greg Carr, you first. Greg, you on mute.
Thank you, Roland.
There you go.
Yeah, I was, and thank you, Dr. Johnson. I must admit, one of the reasons I muted myself is because I was shouting at the screen as you were preaching. What are you talking about? Let me ask this question, because you started with our founders. They're not our founders, brothers. Those guys were human traffickers. My question to you is grounded, and I do know that book. If memory serves me correctly, I think it's chapter 4. Bonhoeffer didn't just come to Abyssinian. I think he was a lay leader at one point in the congregation, and he learned at Abyssinian how Black folk, including unclaimed power, but just through community work, don't just think about Christianity in the abstract or in the hereafter, but in the very real living here and now. My question to you is, why do we keep attempting to talk about the soul of a country that is soulless, act as if we share a religion with open, utter white nationalists? What happened to the Black prophetic tradition of David Walker? What happened to the tradition of Jeremiah Wright, or even Freddie Haynes, or certainly John Howard Wesley? How can you keep talking about this thing as if there is some common moral point of departure that we have that will ultimately end in some saving or redeeming the soul of a country, when these people are engaged in a crusade against you and me, a crusade against the Muslims? Charlie Kirk called the soon-to-be mayor of your city a Mohammedan. They're fighting the Crusades, brother. Please help me understand what happened to the Black liberation theology. So let me ask this question. Have you actually heard any of my sermons? Because I don't think you have. I just heard, because I heard what you just heard today. You asked the question. I'm answering the question. I heard you say our founders. No. You asked the question. Answer that question to me. Who is our founders, brother? If you go back and you listen to any of my sermons, you will see that I have been out there speaking truth to power. So I take real issue with what you just said. So I'm going to go ahead and set the record straight. I have continued
to be a voice. Just go onto my Instagram page, DRKRJ, and you will see that I have been at the forefront, just like all the others that you mentioned. I come from that Morehouse tradition. So I'm not going to let you sit up here and try to paint me and some other brush, brother. I'm not going to let that happen.
I'm just asking you a question. When you say our founders, who you talking about, man?
Listen, whatever you want to call it, listen to my tapes. Listen to what I have said. Listen to how I've spoken truth to power.
Question,
no, listen, no. I want you to go back and listen. What you're basically saying is that you don't even know what I preached about.
I asked you a question about what I just heard you say.
Yeah,
you didn't answer.
And I'm answering your question. Go back and listen to my sermons.
I got you. I appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
Reese.
Thank you, Reverend Dr. Johnson, for being here. My question is, a lot of what I've been hearing is people trying to use religion to kind of sanitize what Charlie Kirk did. And I think that what we've seen is this homophobia and transphobia really kind of making a dent under the pretext of, religious beliefs in empowering these white nationalists and this white Christo nationalist movement. What is your take on people kind of trying to sane wash what Charlie Kirk was saying because of his supposed religious beliefs that they identified with?
You can't sane wash evil. You can't sane wash racism. You can't sane wash anything that is denying somebody's agency and their humanity. And that's why I have continued, and I continue to do, even right now, as I continue to preach and teach and let our community knows that we're under attack. We are under assault. This is beyond a deliberate attempt to erase us as a people. Earlier this year, I came out beyond forcefully. I preached a sermon called We Ain't Scared. And I said, are we mad? Are we angry? Are we frustrated? Yes. I said, are we scared? I said, hell no. And it was at that moment, because I was the first preacher this year who actually started to take on the Trump administration the way that you're now starting to see other preachers. And I think we need more voices, not just my voice, not just Otis Moss's voice, not just Howard John Wesley's voice, not just Jamal Bryant's voice, but we need a plethora of voices, and not just the voices, but we need action on the street in order to speak truth to power.
Joy.
I love this conversation. What are you hearing from your fellow leaders? You don't have to give names, but are they responding to your call that they join you and Patrick Wesley in speaking out, but also not just pastors, the leaders of some of our social organizations? I'm in many of them too. And I am profoundly disappointed. And the Democratic Party. What are you hearing from them? What are you saying to them?
Yeah. Unfortunately, like Roland mentioned, I'm an Omega. I'm a part of the Boule. Many Black people and many professional people, they're just pretty much at ease in Zion. They're not viewing this as it's impacting them. And the place that is speaking most about this are really about 5 Black churches: Abyssinian, Trinity, New Birth, Alfred Street. There are not too many churches that are really speaking truth to power. And unfortunately, we're in a place right now that our fraternities and sorority organizations are not doing enough. And I think some of this also has to do with the recent election. I've heard a lot of people say that this is not my fight, that this is white on white crime. When you hear people on the streets, and I hear that comment, but the reality is that we are the ones who are being targeted. 400,000 Black women have lost jobs. My wife is one of them. She was a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer at her law firm, and now that's been since April. She still hasn't found a job. And so I know this personally, that this is impacting our families. I have 2 daughters who are at Spelman College, and they are being impacted. Our daughter last week, right after Charlie Kirk got murdered, the next day, my daughter at Spelman was on lockdown. And so this is impacting all of us. And I just wish that we had more conscious Black people who really understand that this is an assault on us, and it is an attempt to try to erase us completely from the map. and at minimally to make us servants to them again.
Pastor, I also think there's something we do, and I just got to go and say this because it drives me crazy. I was having a conversation last night, and yet last night's show, I blasted Vibe magazine for this awful reporting dealing with Dame Dash and Revolt. And some folks were like, well, you know, some people others say, well, I don't really want to say nothing because I don't want to bring somebody black down. And I said, first of all, that ain't bringing somebody black down. I said, that's called accountability. Yeah. And I also think too often what happens is we also shy away from rigorous debate. You know, the exchange you and Greg just had there. My whole deal is, guess what?
It was great. I'm fine.
But here's my whole deal with it. That's nothing compared to the conversations I saw at my grandparents' house when my aunts and uncles and my grandfather used to go at it, and they would they would tell a kid, you can jump in this, but we ain't gonna treat you like a kid. Right. And so that's why I learned my debating skills. And I think what also has to happen is, I think black folks, we've also got to push one another, challenge one another to be able to get at where we're trying to go, and we can't be afraid to do that. And I've been in so many meetings and groups and folks sitting here, well, respectfully and this, that, and the other, and I'm like sitting like, man, can you just say what you want to say? Yeah. We need to have that back and forth, and some folks say, well, don't do it on the air, do it privately, but it's still needed in order for us to get where we're trying to go.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. I received 2 phone calls after I preached a sermon 2 weeks ago at Abyssinian. And this was the week before Charlie Kirk was murdered. And the title of the message was, God's Not Done, because I'm preaching this series at Abyssinian. And I received 2 calls. I'm not going to name their names because you would know who they are. But they are well-known people who called me and said, Kevin, one of them said, we're dealing with mad dogs. He's a mad dog. And what the person was trying to say is that, you know, be careful. Another person came to me and said, do not let Donald Trump come out of your mouth. And again, I'm saying to myself, they're older persons, but they come from a generation where you kind of get in line. Mm-hmm. I'm not from that generation. I'm going to speak my mind. I am not afraid. And as I said to Dr. J. Wendell Mapson on his podcast a few weeks ago, many young preachers are afraid of standing alone. I don't mind standing alone. I don't mind speaking truth to power by myself. And to be quite honest, to me, I will die for the cause of black people. I love black people, and I'm going to keep fighting for black people. But most preachers are just comfortable. One, they don't live in the community. They live in the suburbs, so they go back to a nice, beautiful house. But you got to be connected to the people. You got to know the struggles and the pains that they're going through. And you have to know that if we don't speak up for them, they don't have another voice. And I often tell my church class, some deacons say to me, Pastor, be cool. I'm like, I can't be cool. Right. I have to be the one speaking because I can say what you cannot say. Because y'all pay me. I'm not paid by some white organization. I'm not paid by some corporation. I'm paid by the people. And thank God that they allow for me to have that freedom and stay within that prophetic tradition that we all know at Abyssinian Baptist Church.
Absolutely. You know, let's just be clear. It's a bunch of our folks right now who are scared. We got some folks who sitting here, we don't really want, man, rolling, man, I mean, you know, be careful. I don't know if you want to say that. You know, it's some folks sitting here, man, you really shouldn't wear that shirt that say resist 47. And I'm sitting here going, I'm sorry, how can we run around? And it just ticks me off. Like in this studio right here, Anthony, get a shot of this. In this studio, that's Ida B. Wells on that wall. That's Harry Belafonte on that wall. That's James Baldwin on that wall. In the office in there is a mural that says, from the nation's first black newspaper, Freedom's Journal, March 16, 1827, we wish to plead our own cause, too long have others spoken for us. I got another mural called hashtag Black Owned Media Matters that shows all these black owned media companies. And I'm like, in one of our promos, I said, you can't be black owned media and be scared. Well, you can't be a black preacher and be scared. And if you're a black organizational leader and you scared, guess what? Your weak ass should resign.
I'm in total agreement with you. I could not have said it any plainer than the way that you did. The reality, this is not a time to be scared. This is a time to be bold. This is a time to be courageous. Harriet Tubman She was not scared. Frederick Douglass, he was not scared. Rosa Parks, she was not scared. All of our great leaders, they understood that leadership sometimes comes with a cost. And one of the things that I think about often is, if I don't stand up, how will my children view me? And my daughter and my son, they often say to me, Dad, I'm proud of you for you speaking up and for your courage. And what I'm really trying to teach them is that at the end of the day, we're all that we have. White folks are not going to advocate for us. Hispanic people are not going to advocate for us. Jewish people are not going to advocate for us. Black people must advocate for themselves. And if we don't do that, shame on us.
I was at a school choice conference, I think it was in Nashville, and we sitting around, it's probably $12-15 billion in a room. And we were talking, and my initiative was school choice is the black choice. There was only 2 black people in the room. And there was a Hispanic guy in the room. He says, you know, I keep hearing all this black this and black that. He said, I'm for people of color. I said, hey, man, let me be clear with you. I said, I'm here for black people. I said, now, if you want to launch school choice, is it Hispanic choice? I said, be my guest. But Roe is here for black people. And I said, and y'all ain't doing nothing in this room unless y'all can deal with the black caucus, y'all can deal with black churches. I said, so y'all might want to get that through y'all heads. And the whole room was like, okay. And I'm like, I don't care. Didn't matter if it was it was only 2 black people in the room. I was one of them, and that's the only thing that matters. Last thing, Dr. Carr mentioned Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III. He was my pastor in Dallas, also my alpha brother. He announced, the church announced on Sunday that he's taking a leave of absence for a medical procedure. I have not talked to him, and we did text. And so I just want everybody to be in prayer for Dr. Haynes as he is dealing with this medical issue. And so we will certainly be praying for my dear brother.
Thank you. I love Dr. Haynes. And I don't know if you know it or not, Roland, you and I are Texas homeboys. I was born in Dallas, so I'm a Texan. But I'm praying for Dr. Haynes and praying for his family, and I know that God will bring him through.
So here's a question. You born in Dallas. What football team you cheer for?
Listen, I'm a Cowboys fan, but Jerry Jones, he's nothing but a plantation owner.
See, right there. Pastor, you were doing good there, Pastor. But you had to mention them dang Cowboys.
Listen, that's the truth. You see the blue.
I hate them more than I hate.
I'm like, he makes it very painful, especially when he showed Charlie Kirk the other day. I said, Lord have mercy, Jesus. I said, you just make it very difficult for a black man to keep supporting the Cowboys.
Well, you should support the Cowboys. I hate them more than I hate the Klan. All right. Pastor Johnson, I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Look forward to having you back. Keep preaching, and we'll keep showing it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Folks, quick break. We come back. We're going to talk to the sister trying to become the next mayor of Mobile, Alabama. Black people, I need y'all to vote in mass, because her opponent, who she beat in the primary, has outraised her by $1 million. We should be voting like we ain't never voted before. We're going to talk to her next. Right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Support the work that we do. Join our Bring the Funk fan club. Look, we're trying to raise $1 million. Y'all, we're doing some amazing stuff. Launching 2 new shows. Redoing our website to a black news portal. Trust me, ain't nobody in America doing what we're doing here at the Black Star Network. Your support is critical to our success. So please support the work that we do. If you want to give via via Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, bottom left-hand corner. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered, Venmo RM Unfiltered, Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 2037-0196. And y'all got to give me some grace, because when y'all mail these checks, I got 200 right now. Y'all got to open every envelope. I got to separate them, sign the back, take a picture. I got to do all that, so it ain't as simple. So y'all like to check clear? Y'all just give a brother some time. It ain't easy. Let me be real clear. I don't hand these checks to an intern or to a staffer. I do it myself. So if y'all gonna use a check and money order, it's gonna take some time, all right? I'll be right back.
Black Star Network, what's happening? It's your man, Kim. And look, my new single, Rock With Me, is on fire. We debuted as the #1 most added and greatest gainer at R&B radio. So look, I want you to go check it out at musicbykim.com. Listen to it, download it, tell me what you think about it. Also, make sure you sign up to be a part of my community so we can stay connected. At Music by Kim on all social media platforms. Thank you for rocking with me. And keep love on the one.
'Cause I want you to rock with me. We live in a strange world till the darkness falls forever. Baby, let's be the dawn. When it feels like it's taking me over, you're making me stronger, my sweet love.
Hey, yo, what's up? It's Mr. Dalvin right here. What's up? This is KC. Sitting here representing the JODECI, that's Jodeci. Right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Folks, next week's voters at Mobile, Alabama will choose their next mayor. Barbara Drummond will face former district court judge Spiro Sherigatis in Tuesday's runoff. Now, Drummond has served in the Alabama House of Representatives for the past decade. Before that, she worked in the administration of Mobile Mayor Sam Jones and was a reporter for the Mobile Press Register. She also, when they had the general election, she actually won the most votes, coming in first, but now there's a runoff. Her opponent is outraising her by more than $1 million. But guess what? You can raise money, but votes still matter. She joins us right now. Certainly glad to have you on the show. How you doing?
I am fine. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing?
Doing great. You're coming down to the wire. So give us a sense of the demographics of Mobile. What's the percentage black, white, Latino, and how does it shape there? And is the race, is it nonpartisan or is it partisan?
Well, first, the race is nonpartisan, and we have about 51% population African American, and about 47% of those are voting population. So we have a little bit of an edge, and you know, Mobile has never had a female mayor, and in its history since 1702, we've only had one African American.
Wait, hold up. Only one black mayor and no female mayor ever?
1702 is when we were founded. We're the birthplace of Mardi Gras, and it's a wonderful place. So this is the first time. This will be the first time.
Wow. No woman ever as mayor. Wow. That's rare in 2025.
I think so too, and I think it's really, you know, time for a spin. But I've been telling all of our constituents, and this campaign, you laid it out perfectly. Our opponent has outraised us, and we still got 2,500 more votes. Came in first, took 25 out of the 37 precincts, and our campaign is strictly grassroots. We've got about 2,300 small donations averaging about $50. So it is speaking volume here in Mobile that the people want to change.
Well, are you seeing it on the ground? Because one of the things that I constantly talk about on this show is that there are numerous places in this country where we have significant black capacity, but we're not maximizing our capacity. And so in terms of, and obviously you're trying to get every vote, black, white, Latino, Asian American, it does not matter. But what are you saying to black folks there about maximizing our power? When you look at those numbers, if we vote at 70, 75, 80% of our capacity, obviously that makes it a hell of a lot easier for you to win.
Well, you know, I don't think Mobile is any different than the other parts of the country. We've got a whole lot of apathy that's in the African American community. And one of the things that this campaign is built upon is that we're trying to create opportunities for all, especially those communities that have been left behind. And we're seeing of recent, since the runoff, we're seeing a number of young people who are gravitating and who are voting. Now, we're not naive. We know that this is going to be a ground game, and we're working extremely hard to make sure we turn out those voters. But this campaign is built upon, I always tell people that we are an old city, we're Port City, and usually it's only a few people that has been able to experience any kind of prosperity in economics. And this campaign is built upon creating economic opportunities for everybody. I tell folks, I'm not trying to take away anything someone already has. I'm just trying to expand to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to thrive in this city.
What else are you focused on about delivering to the voters if they pick you as the next mayor?
I am focusing on my experience to be able to take Mobile to the next level and to appeal to the next generation that this is the place where opportunities are. If not only if you're looking for a good job, but if you want to start a small business, this is the place. And those that have been forgotten, those very marginalized communities that are blighted, that we can go in and rehab, especially they have a whole lot of historic character. One of the things that is in Mobile that I think that is a hidden jewel, and internationally as well as throughout the entire country, is the Africa town where the Clotilda was scuttled. It's the last slave ship. We have not done anything to cultivate that history. So I am going to create a new ecotourism market, not only creating affordable housing, but telling the story of those 22 African Americans that were on that ship that was scuttled in Mobile Bay. It was the last slave ship. So we've got a lot of story and a lot of storied history from the French to all the way to the Clotilda.
All right, questions from my panel. Reese, you're first.
Representative Drummond, thank you for being here. You talked about the apathy. How do you plan on really tapping into that, particularly at a time where we're seeing all this gerrymandering, we're seeing all this assault on our civil rights? How do you get people to see the importance of coming out again to vote in this runoff election?
One of the things one of the things that I've done in this campaign, we have gone to places that I'll be very honest with you, I didn't know exist. We have been to places that they call underground. We have been to those young people who thought that they were being left behind, and we've shared with them all of the economic development opportunities and workforce development opportunities. And we're giving them a voice. Nobody's ever come to them and said, okay, what do you want from your city? I am one of the first that has gone to many of these areas and asked, what are your voices? Even those who are re-entering society. I came across a man the other day who actually was very elated to vote for me. And he told me, he said, Ms. Drummond, you helped me get my voting rights back. And you will be the first person that I'll get to vote for. So it's one person at a time, and it's one community at a time. We're restoring that hope because this is a wonderful city. And we just want everybody in this city, especially those that are in those forgotten communities, to be able to prosper.
Joy.
I am Madam Future Mayor. This is what I want to know. Who is supporting you?
Well, I have been.
What national groups are giving you? What national groups are giving you money? Is Emily's List giving you money? Like, who are supporting you?
Well, I am a Delta, so we'll be having a Crimson and Cream fundraiser after I finish this interview. But I've been endorsed and also given fundraisers by former Senator Doug Jones, also by Senator Cory Booker. The Black Mayors Association has also endorsed us, and they're helping us to raise money. Former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, he is very, very much engaged in this campaign. And not to mention one that is near and dear to me. I have been endorsed by young people who are in law enforcement in our community who represent our homicide unit here in Mobile because they see the need of a new direction in Mobile. So we've been endorsed, but most of all, I go back to telling everybody that when I saw that I had garnered 2,300 small donations, those represent people. in politics, and of course I serve in the Alabama legislature as a Democrat, this is a nonpartisan race, but I sometimes think that we forget about people and put more in party. And I think that that is helping folks to see that I am one of those that's going to work with everybody.
Greg?
Thank you, Roland, and thank you, Representative Drummond. It always does my heart good to hear about Africa Town and Plateau and the great Oludade, as he was called in Nigeria, but I think y'all know him as Cujo Lewis.
Cujo Lewis.
And the Catilda.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. But I know y'all got here. I can't wait one day to come to Heritage House and be with the Catilda Descendants Association. That story has gone around the world, but I'm confident that you're going to make sure it goes around the universe. I just want to ask you a quick question about the politics, because I don't know anything about it except what I've read. The guy that came in third with almost 20% of the vote, the former police chief, is it true that he and the former mayor had beef, and the former mayor, this lady has endorsed your opponent? What do you think you'll pick up the votes for those who voted for Chief Prine? Or how does the politics of those who finished second and third weigh into this, if any?
Well, many of Chief Prime's supporters have already come over to our camp. They're already out there that are helping us. And you're right. You've done your research. There's a whole lot of dispute. The current guy who I'm running against, my opponent, has been endorsed by the current mayor, who the guy who's in third place, he not only had a beef with them, he is actually suing them, suing the current mayor, along with several of our city council members. But again, they're not going over to that camp. They're coming to Team Drummond's camp. Many of them are already over here, again, because they want to make sure anybody can stand up to the man, and I am their best option to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Well, I was just sitting here and I came across this Alabama Political Reporter, an independent site. They dropped this here. They said in the Mobile mayoral race, there's one candidate with an actual plan when it comes to crime, saying crime is a top issue. And they say it's you.
I think it's me as well. Clearly, and I've been a legislator, locking people up is not the answer. And most of the violence that we have in the city of Mobile is being committed by youth. And one of the things that the current administration has not done very well, they stopped funding any of the nonprofit programs like a Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Big Sisters. We used to have several YMCAs here in Mobile. We're now down to one. And all of these are nonprofits that had programming for young people. So when you ask yourself, what do you have in your city to do for young people? It is no longer here. My administration has a plan to not only create a standing department within city government that will be totally engaged to youth, giving them not only a voice into the process, but giving them access to workforce development, to internships, to mentoring opportunities. And I think that's why a lot of young people are really excited, because I want to build a future for them so that they can be the leaders of tomorrow. I don't want to be just a reactive mayor. When there's a shooting, then I try to find a solution. I want to already be working on that solution and be proactive. In addition, now don't get me wrong, I want to lock up those folks who are repeat offenders, but I do want to make sure that I can stop as many of those young people as possible from even going into the penal system.
I love this here. There was a televised debate and your opponent talked about blight, said, I keep a map on my wall in the office. It has all the vacant properties and blighted property east of I-65. And you said, well, you don't have a map on the wall. You actually go into those neighborhoods. You live in those neighborhoods.
And that was very telling for me, because he had to go to a map. I don't have to go to a map. I actually not only have to go to those neighborhoods and live in those neighborhoods, I go to church to those neighborhoods. And this is a really, really serious issue in the city of Mobile because it's mostly in marginalized communities that have a lot of history that is not being told. And that was somewhat stark that he had to have a map to tell him to get there. I don't have to have a map to go to the majority race community. I know their story. I know what they're doing. I've helped to work to make their communities better. It is now our time to make the entire city healthy, and that includes marginalized communities.
And again, it's all about, again, getting out the vote. It's turnout, turnout, turnout. And I cannot stress enough to our people that we can't complain about we don't have this in our neighborhood and we don't have that. Then if we don't vote and other folk actually do turn out. We saw what happened. It was a sister who was running for re-election in Baton Rouge, and a lot of our folk didn't turn out, and she actually lost there to someone who was a football coach, had no political experience whatsoever. And last point, you've been making the point that your experience, your political experience, outweighs your opponent.
It does. I actually have experience in county government. And of course, I worked in the first African-American and the only African-American mayor that we've had. I was one of his executive directors. And I'm in the state legislature and I'm into my third term. So I have the experience, the ability, and the know-how. I told a reporter earlier today that I don't have a law degree, so I can't go in a courtroom and practice. My opponent can. He doesn't have experience in city government, so he can't be the mayor.
All right, then. Barbara Drummond, the runoff is on Tuesday. Mobile, Alabama. Y'all need to vote. If y'all know folk in Mobile, call them, text them, email them, hit them on social media, and tell them to get out there and vote. This is how you can reach Barbara Drummond for mayor, all of her social media accounts, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you for having me. Have a good evening.
All right, then. All right, folks, I'll be going to a break. Right back. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
I'm Dr. Greg Carr, and coming up on The Next Black Table, we're speaking with Dr. Lucius T. Outlaw Jr., master teacher and philosopher. He takes us on his journey to discover and celebrate Black philosophy.
From my undergraduate years at Fisk all the way through my PhD, I was never in a philosophy class where I had a professor who was a person of African descent, nor a sign or text written by a person of African descent, ever.
How he pushed back at those who said there was no such thing and got us all thinking about what it means to be Black. That's on The Next Black Table, exclusively on the Black Star Network.
What's up, y'all? This is Wendell Haskins, a.k.a. Win Hogan at the original T-Golf Classic. And you know I watch Roland Martin Unfiltered.
You know what? It's pretty interesting listening to all of these ignorant MAGA people just lie. One of the leading liars is J.D. Vance. And they love saying stuff as if there's no such thing as video. So J.D. Vance goes on Fox News. He's talking to one of the most ignorant, racist, sexist people on the network, Jesse Waters. And he says this.
I know you've been asked about this before.
Come on.
Jasmine Crockett says, yeah, she calls people Hitler, but it doesn't mean she's responsible for any violence that happens.
Well, I'd ask Jasmine Crockett, what is it that you want people to do when you call them Nazis? What is it that you want them to do when you call them fascists? What is the proper response when you say that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Charlie Kirk are threatening your safety? What do you expect people to do? This rhetoric is completely out of control, and it's part of this entire network of violence that exists on the far left. You dehumanize your political opponents. You fund paid activists to go and harass them and terrorize them. We've had a White House senior staffer just in the past week who has had actual representatives of the Democratic Party going around passing leaflets trying to get his neighbors to harass him and showing people where he lives, where his wife lives, where his young family lives. If that's not political violence, if that's not political harassment, I don't know what the term means.
Interesting. He talked about people on the left inciting violence by mentioning Hitler, mentioning fascists. That's interesting. Because when J.D. Vance used to have no facial hair, I recall J.D. Vance saying this.
As somebody who doesn't like Trump, myself, the elites were right about Donald Trump, right? I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place. If I feel like Trump has a really good chance of winning, I might have to hold my nose and vote for Hillary.
Terrible candidate. Idiot if you voted for him. Might be America's Hitler. Might be a cynical a-hole. Cultural heroine. Noxious and reprehensible.
I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place. He's leading our political discourse to a very negative place. If Trump is elected president, he has to be a much different president than he was a candidate. As a candidate, he was fundamentally divisive, arrogant.
Maybe Crockett was quoting J.D. Vance. If y'all could see the stank face on Reese's face right now, y'all be cracking up laughing. No, Reese, you had a stank look on your face. You wasn't smiling. You had, he playing that clip, you had a stank look. Okay, so y'all heard J.D. talk about, what do they mean? They're inciting people to use fascists. Didn't his boss say the same thing? Yeah, I think he did. Roll it.
It is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists. And it's a choice between communism and freedom. No, they've done very bad things to this country. They are indeed the enemy from within. This is communist, this is Marxist, this is fascist. It's the enemy from within. That's a bigger enemy than China and Russia. There's a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist. She's a Marxist. She's a fascist. These far left fascists, led by Harris and her group. If Comrade Kamala Harris gets 4 more years, you will be living a full-blown banana republic ruled by an anarchy and a tyranny. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage. The divide in American politics today is between these far-left fascists, led by Harris and her group. We have a fascist person running who's incompetent. She's a Marxist, communist, fascist, socialist. She's not actually a socialist. She's gone past that. Somebody's got to explain this woman. There's a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist.
Isn't that interesting, Joy? So they complain about Representative Crockett and the Democrat, but they use the same language. So like everything, nothing applies to them. It's always just the other side that's wrong.
That's right. If them being a fascist is not a reason for political violence, then my calling them a fascist is not a reason for political violence. It is okay to have a different take and to say what you think and describe what you think is going on. None of the political violence that is out there is to be put on anyone else but the person who did. Okay, I just don't subscribe that we're gonna say every time someone says something we don't like, that they are the ones causing political violence. I have been doxxed recently. I will tell you, it is not fun. No one should have their personal information put out there. That is not right. That's wrong. Okay, no one should have that. I don't care what party you are a part of, but being able to say what people are, this is what they have always believed. Charlie Kirk we just talked about that. He said all manner of things. And now it's us that's inciting political violence. Think about what Donald Trump said after Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked. Think about the dismissiveness with which he approached the Minnesota politicians who were killed and attacked. That most certainly is not someone who should be lecturing to anyone about anything. And as far as this person that we're most recently talking about, he came from MAGA.
Right.
Those were his parents. That's the community in which he was raised. That one's on them. This was not someone who was raised as a progressive, raised as a Democrat.
The thing here that just trips me out, Reese, is that, and this is where mainstream media for me is a joke, because they let the lies go. They let the Scott Jennings of the world come on. You have nothing but liars. I mean, it's so pathetic. Like over at Fox News, Sean Hannity just lied last night. They were talking about Jimmy Kimmel. Then you got that fifth-rated hack, Joe Concha. Hannity goes, I don't know of any prominent conservative that called for Jimmy Kimmel to be fired. And then Joe Concha goes, me neither. There's no evidence. Oh, Trump. But again, that's what they do. And so it is always attack, attack, attack. And this is why I keep saying, if you're a Democrat, stop trying to play a civil, nice, my dear colleague, the honorable so-and-so. No, you are in a fight. You are in a battle-rama. There are no rules, so stop playing like there are rules, because you're dealing with people who do not care, who will lie, cheat, and steal to win.
Yeah, I mean, Republicans want to have a conversation about who says what more. They want to have a conversation about what ideology is more violent, knowing damn well they're the more violent ones. That's why they had a report taken down from the DOJ that called out white supremacist extremism and violence and its impact on the United States. And so this is having the conversation on their turf. They don't want to talk about gun control. They don't want to talk about mass shootings and how not banning assault rifles is leading to the proliferation of mass shootings, including at schools and at churches and other things. They don't want to have a conversation about the Epstein files, which they're trying to bury. They don't want to have a conversation about this impending budget showdown in which they're willing to shut down the government to deny healthcare subsidies for people who have Obamacare subsidies. They don't want to have a conversation about anything substantive. They don't want to have a conversation about how grocery prices are astronomical. They don't want to have a conversation about how the jobs numbers are tanking, about how Donald Trump does not have a plan to get this country back on track that he fucked up with his nonsensical policies. They would love to spend the next couple of weeks talking about Charlie Kirk, talking about censorship, talking about the radical lunatic left, instead of talking about the damage that their policies are doing every single day in America that they cannot gaslight people away from the impacts of.
Listen, Greg, you got Sinclair television group saying that, oh, if Jimmy Kimmel wants back on the air, he's going to have to personally apologize to the Kirk family and make a donation to Turning Point USA. This is where ABC, and I know they're one of the affiliates, but this is where ABC should tell Sinclair to go to hell. But again, the right plays a different game. They want to, you say the phrase you use all the time, they want to break the backs of their opponent. Their opponent wants to just pat them on the shoulder and say, hey, how you doing?
Yes, sir. It's a poignant moment. We might even want to thank these rabid white nationalists for forcing this country. I mean, how many times have we all said in one form or another that they took civics out of high school? We don't learn civics. Well, now the whole country is getting civics lessons. They're understanding continuing resolutions, rocket dockets in the Supreme Court, all kind of civics education. Mm-hmm. But the one lesson that black people, the one lesson that black people don't need to be taught, but well, maybe there may be some exceptions. I don't know, but I won't go into that. That was early in the show. Is that, this country is not a nation. And so the mass news entertainment media is owned by people who are also soft white nationalists. So ABC, NBC, CBS, certainly ABC at this point, ABC Disney has just unveiled themselves as CBS. It's not only that they're not going to stand up for all intents and purposes, they go along with this stuff. This is the propaganda that they kind of go along with. So the only way you can respond to these people now is to punch them dead in the face. And I'm talking, of course, about symbolically, rhetorically, politically. So when they say to Jimmy Kimmel, they say, well, Kimmel, you apologize. If he apologized and wrote a check for every penny he's got in the bank, it wouldn't be enough. Then they'd say, we still not putting you back on. We've made an example out of you. Jimmy Kimmel, if instead he said, not only am I not going to apologize, I'm not going to honor the remaining year of my contract, and I'm going over there like Mehdi Hassan did, and I'm going over with Colbert. We're going to be bigger than all of y'all because legacy media is about to die. Oh, see, their thing now is we are going to, as we heard earlier, control the whole mass news entertainment media. The Ellison's going to buy all this stuff. Then they're going to buy the movie house that they can, Paramount Global. They'll take over the film. They get CNN. But guess what? What if we say, you know what? Why don't y'all go and do what y'all going to do? And we're going to take all this offshore somewhere else. As long as they can generate some platform to keep their base mollified, keep them coddled, they think they can continue to whistle past the graveyard of demographics and politics. But you keep saying this, Roland, and we organize, we go out here and organize to our strengths and our numbers, this whole thing goes away. It's incredibly short-sighted. I agree with what Eric Swalwell said today when he was saying whether or not the Democrats would do it or not, they got to find some teeth to do it. But he said, you know, all you people that are doing all this work for the FBI and all this other stuff y'all doing, y'all make sure y'all save y'all emails and save your records, because in a couple of years, less than 2 years, you're going to be in here before our committees, and we're going to have some questions for you, and maybe that'll lead to something else. Donald Trump, you may not live to go to jail. Pam Bondi, Propaganda Barbie, doggone Christy Nome, Mr. Cash Patel, we do what we supposed to do. You put them guys on Front Street, and damn ABC, damn CBS, damn the broadcast networks.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't have any faith that Democrats, if they regain the House, are going to actually do that. I don't.
Yeah.
Reese, I see the look you making. I mean, I just don't. I just think, I just don't think it's in their nature to be that petty, to go that hard. And again, they want to play by a set of rules in a game that no longer exists. The game and the rules no longer exist.
That's right.
And it ain't coming back. And so if I hear another Democrat say that, oh, the Republican Party of is gonna come back. Hillary said that dumb shit. I said she was wrong. Joe Biden kept saying that dumb shit. He was wrong. I'm like, I don't know what the hell y'all talking about. I see what's going on. But that's what's happening. So I'm telling you right now, folks, and this is why I keep saying, and again, all y'all people who run y'all mouths, no, this ain't about no Democrat shield. We fight for black folk here, and we see what's going on here. And so here's what I'm saying. If you got some weak-ass Democrats who ain't ready to swing, primary their asses and boot them out.
That's right.
Because if you need folk who are going to swing. The reality is, and I'm going to go ahead and say it, they are the largest caucus in the Democratic Party. But I'm sorry, the CBC don't go as hard as the Freedom Caucus does. And they're twice as large. And what I'm saying is, you need folks who are going to swing. Quick break. We come back. We're going to talk with the family attorney of this young man found dead in Mississippi. They want some answers from Delta State and authorities. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network.
This week on The Other Side of Change.
Hurricane Katrina, 20 years later. Cannot believe that it's been more than 20 years since we saw Black people and Black communities across New Orleans and the South being failed by our government. But it's a harrowing lesson. We're going to unpack how race and class intersect in ways and how we need to talk about this government doing more for our communities. Again, you're watching The Other Side of Change only on the Black Star Network.
This is Reggie Rock Pfeiffer. You're watching
Roland Martin, unfiltered, uncut, unplugged, and undamn believable. You hear me?
The family of 21-year-old Demartravion Trey Reed, they want answers. Now, he was found hanging from a tree on the campus of Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. family says they were told he was found dead in his dorm room. To make matters worse, the family attorney, Vanessa Jones, said that the family is learning more about his death from the media than from investigators. She joins us right now. Glad to have you here on the show. Vanessa, what's the latest in this story?
Well, Mr. Martin, thanks for having me this afternoon. The latest is that we just got the report from the state coroner's office, which his ruling without a toxicology report is that it was ruled a suicide.
Okay, so they ruled it a suicide, saying that he hung himself?
Yes.
Okay, it still doesn't answer why were y'all told he was found in his dorm room when he wasn't?
Mr. Martin, as we've been saying since Tuesday, we need answers. This grandfather, the police came to his house and told him that Trey Reed had died in his room. He was in his bed unresponsive. That was the initial report that this family got from the Grenada County Sheriff's Department that came to the grandfather's home.
So the Sheriff's Department told the grandfather that. So did they make that up, or was that what they were told from the university?
Actually, the Grenada County Sheriff's Department told Trey Reed's family that they needed to contact the Cleveland Police Department. J.B. Reed, who is the grandfather of Trey Reed, called the Cleveland Police Department, and they confirmed with Mr. Reed on the phone that, in fact, Trey was found in his dorm room unresponsive and from an apparent suicide. This was what the family was told by two different law enforcement agencies on about 9 o'clock or so on September the 15th.
So has the sheriff explained that?
There has been no explanation so far, Mr. Martin. And again, we've been saying since Tuesday, the family wants some answers as to what happened to Trey Reed on the campus of Delta State University.
Are y'all going to conduct an independent autopsy?
Yes, there will be an independent autopsy performed.
Questions from my panel. Greg, you first. Greg, you on mute?
Yeah, I am. I'm sorry. I'm just listening in shock and horror. I'm saying the police chief is a black dude. I mean, not that that matters at all in this. I guess my broad question would be, how can we continue to support you? Is it by spreading the story, elevating? Are there folks we need to be in contact with en masse? Do we need to bring pressure? Could help us with that, please. And again, the deepest sympathies, deepest sympathies.
Well, thank you. I think how the nation can help this family is to continue to spread the word. And there has been a degree, we've asked for transparency from the beginning of this investigation. And as of today, where the coroner has come up with a ruling that this was suicide without a toxicology report, is just absurd. Because if the toxicology report comes back and finds that maybe there are some drugs or alcohol in Trey Reed's system, possibly that could have altered his behavior, how could he have climbed up a tree? So it's just a rush to judgment. And from September the 15th of when this happened, it's as if this young man's life didn't matter to Delta State University.
Joy.
So continuing with that theme, what support are you getting from your local organizations? We've been talking all night about our groups needing to put their money and their energy where their mouths are. How are your local sororities, fraternities, churches showing up for you all?
We've actually had quite a bit of an influx of people wanting to help. And at this juncture, with the independent autopsy and a lot of different things, we are going to be soliciting funds to help us continue this movement for Trey Reed and his family.
Can I just want to do one follow-up? Are you asking people in your local community to call the police department putting continual pressure on them to
yes, we have.
to further
Yes, we have.
investigate? Okay.
Yes. And again, from this has been a whirlwind since Monday, but the whirlwind has not encompassed transparency to the family. And again, as the other speaker said, this is a black police chief. And my question is, if this was a Caucasian student on the campus of Delta State University, would he have handled this situation the same?
Reese.
Two questions. Number one, are you guys independently fielding tips from students on campus? I saw that there's a report where a student who attended a vigil said that they may have seen Trey on the phone with somebody. And the second question is, can you talk a little bit about Trey's state of mind as far as his family understood it? I remember seeing reports that his mom said that he was excited about going to school. Can you talk a little bit about those two things?
Well, actually, Trey was a freshman at Delta State University. Just started in August, been there just roughly a month. But Trey was home in Grenada, Mississippi on August the 27th for his sister's birthday. And he was his usual jovial and happy self. And 2 weeks prior to that, he was home for the local town celebration that they call Grenada Day. And he again was his fun, loving self that he's been known for. And the family's question is, he was fun, outgoing. When they sent him to Delta State University, what happened in that short period of time?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is certainly a story that deserves answers, and I certainly hope you and the family get those answers. Vanessa Jones, certainly keep us abreast of what happens.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so very much. That is it for us. Reese, Greg, Joey, I appreciate y'all being on today's show. Lots that we covered. There was stuff that we wanted to get to, but we didn't. Tomorrow, the president of Houston-Tillotson College will be joining us because they got the news earlier this week of what a $150 million donation to the university. And so look forward to having her on the show to talk about that on tomorrow's show. Plus, Ezra Klein did an interview with Ben Shapiro. And I take some exception to some stuff, but I'm going to have to unpack that thing on tomorrow's show. So look forward to doing that. Folks, if you want to support the work that we do, join our Bring the Funk fan club. The goal is to get 20,000 people contributing on average $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. Your donations go to support this show, support the other shows that we have, the new shows that we're launching, the new products that we're launching. There's a lot going on, and so we're looking forward to that. And so if you want to support our work using Cash App, use the Stripe QR code. You see it right here, the bottom left-hand corner. That's the QR code for Stripe. And of course, if you want to use credit cards, use that as well. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Checks and money orders, make it payable to Roland Martin Unfiltered, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Of course, if you want to download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. If you want to, of course, get my book, White Fear, How the Brownie of America is Making White Folks Lose Their Minds. Available at bookstores nationwide. Get the audio version I read on Audible. If you also want to get our Roland Martin Unfiltered swag, like the shirt I'm wearing right here, Resist 47. You can get this shirt or the other shirts, hashtag Black Owned Media Matters. Of course, and of course that Howard Wesley, how you does not redeem how you live. Yeah, we got that shirt. MAGA chose between woke or broke. They chose broke. And then don't blame me, I voted for the black woman. Get those shirts and other products right here at shopblackstarnetwork.com. If you want to support the black-owned products, I have to my right here. You see all of these products here. We got lots of products. We've got leafy toilet paper. We got HBCU shirts. We got backpacks. We got, come on, switch the camera. Let's go. Come on, come on. It should have been already set up now. Come on. All right, so we got all kind of products. We got sauces. We got candles. We got all this stuff right here. And so if y'all want to support these products, again, go to shopblackstarnetwork.com, shopblackstarnetwork.com to do that. And of course, don't forget, download the app Fanbase. Download the app. And if you want to invest in Fanbase, go to startengine.com/Fanbase. Startengine.com/Fanbase. All right, folks, that's it. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here. Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Holla!